Today we're going to be comparing two Parlor style guitars. We're going to be looking at the Orangewood Florence guitar, which goes for just under $200. And we're going to be comparing that to the Huss and Dalton Parlor guitar, which goes for about 10 times the price, about $2,000. The first thing when comparing sounds of guitars, we want to get as true to the natural sound, and we want some high fidelity here to be able to evaluate the sounds. I do encourage you to listen at minimum on a really good pair of earbuds, better yet a pair of headphones, and better yet maybe some monitors, stereo monitors or stereo speakers. If you're listening on a laptop, on the speakers, built-in laptop speakers, or if you're listening just on your phone, you're probably not going to hear all these subtle differences. So I do encourage you to listen in some fidelity to this comparison. Today we're recording the guitars. We have two condenser microphones. We have an AKG and a Neumann pencil condenser microphone. They're set up in an XY pattern, and I have them about 2.5 feet from the guitar bodies. And I'm in the hallway outside my studio. You can see that I'm not in my regular studio. And that's because my studio is not it's not been treated for sound, and so it's quite a live room in there, as you can tell from my previous videos. So I've moved into the hallway here, which is it's a carpeted hallway, and it's about as dead of a room as I have in my entire house. So we want to be capturing a bunch of reflective echoes. I have the microphones running into a Focusrite 428 preamplifier, so that's a good high quality preamplifier. And the analog to digital conversion is done in my Lynx Aurora here. Long story short, this should give us a pretty good representation of the sounds of the different guitars. We're using these Elixir strings today on both guitars. I've recorded this with flat EQ, so there's no EQ, there's no reverb, no effects at all. You're hearing the sound just as it's being transferred to the microphones. So the Orangewood Florence guitar that we're looking at today, it has a solid spruce top, and then it has laminate back and sides. It's not an unattractive guitar at all. It's very pleasing to the eye. So first off, just a few words about the Parlor style guitar. It certainly depends on the style of guitar that you're playing. I call myself sort of a jack of all styles and a master of none. I like to play jazz, I like to play fingerstyle, I like to play rock and roll. So I like to play a lot of different styles. To me, a Parlor style guitar, besides being a very comfortable size, it has a very balanced sound, and if I'm striving towards sort of a strumming sound a la Eagles, some of their older material, a Parlor style would probably not be my first choice. I think if I'm going for that just straight strumming sound, I'll probably go with a Dreadnought style body. I think it really works well for that. Parlor style guitars, I think, are better suited to fingerstyle guitar. They tend to be very clear and ringing in the upper register and not so boomy in the bass. And that's what makes them pretty much ideal, I think, for fingerstyle guitar. Now, just to start off on a few tips here. Maybe you're not getting the sound that you want out of your guitar, say when you're strumming, and maybe it's not the guitar that you have, maybe it's the equipment you're using to strum with. I have 3 different thicknesses of guitar picks here, plectrums, and I want to show you how different the sound is from the same guitar while strumming with these different stiffness picks. So I'm actually going to start with a very, very heavy pick. So this is very, very heavy gauge. Let's see what it sounds like strumming something. So that's pretty hideous, right? So let's change to a medium stiffness guitar pick and see if that's different. So we made a huge difference in the strumming sound going to that medium gauge. Now let's try a thin gauge guitar pick and see what that sounds like strumming. So to my ear, that's more pleasing still. That would be my first recommendation. If you're just doing strumming, I think actually the lighter gauge pick you use is probably the better if you're not articulating a lot of notes. So I think these really stiff picks are more suited to electric guitar playing, because when you're doing lead lines, actually a stiff pick is advantageous so it doesn't bend when you get to the strings. So if you're doing a line like that, certainly a stiff pick. If I try to do that with a thin pick, the pick is just bending too much to do that. So I can't even do that line very well with a thin pick. So that would be my first recommendation. If you're just doing strumming, go to a thinner pick. I think you'll get a more pleasant sound. So for the strumming demonstration, I'm going to stick with this thin pick. And I'm going to show you now the different sound of strumming the Florence versus strumming the Husson-Dalton Parlor guitar. So you can probably hear that the Husson-Dalton, I think, has a lot more low and mid-range in it compared to the Florence guitar. You can tell a lot about the resonance of a guitar just by listening to the harmonics and how responsive the guitar is to those. So now I'm just going to play some different phrases on both guitars, different styles, and so you may notice that the Husson-Dalton Parlor guitar is a 12 fret guitar. That means that the 12th fret is where the body meets the neck here. And the Florence is a 14 fret. The 12th fret being here, and the 14th fret is where the body meets the neck here, the fretboard. Alright, so that's a short comparison using different styles of guitar on the two Parlor guitars. I'd be interested to know your thoughts and if this guitar is worth 10 times more than the other guitar or not. So leave the comments in the section below, and we'll see what you think. Talk to you later. Bye.